Let's take a look at some information and charts on Monero for Brave New Coin. So Monero is a privacy by default coin, proof of work coin. They switched their consensus algorithm from CryptoNote to RandomX over a year ago now at this point, and Hashrate has continued to uptick, increase. So bullish on Hashrate there. In general, anytime Hashrate is increasing, it should be bullish for price. With something like Monero, which has a history of crypto jacking related activity where servers are injected with miners, there's always that to consider when it comes to Hashrate. You know, if there's an uptick in illicit mining activity or something, you're going to see a rise in Hashrate here, but it's probably hard to even figure out how much that includes. The RandomX algorithm change was to combat ASICs, which thus far appears to be successful, as it favors CPU and GPU mining over ASIC mining. So all's well on the mining front. And if we look on the Hashrate distribution, 33% currently in the Mine XMR camp pool. But overall, this doesn't look too terrible as far as distributions are concerned. Unknown, the next biggest chunk. As with any measure of decentralization, you want to see a broad swath of pools. You want to see geographic decentralization. I mean, it's very possible that this is just mostly cryptojacking related mining. I don't know. You'd have to do a study on that, I guess. But just like I talk about validators with proof of stake and how they need to be diverse, proof of work is no different. You know, you don't want to see most of this in China. You don't want to see most of this on an exchange or exchange related. You know, you want a high degree of decentralization when it comes to consensus and Hashrate. Keeps all the others honest, as they say. If we look at Monero's issuance or annual inflation rate, it's currently among the lowest of anything. It's at 1.5%. Monero's going to hit its total circulating supply cap soon at, I think it's 18.2 or something million coins. And at that point, it just goes into a perpetual block reward where there is no continued decrease in inflation. It just maintains a certain level, unlike BTC, which will eventually not have a block reward. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of it going forward. There are legitimate reasons to be concerned that BTC won't have a block reward at some point in time. Let's say 2060 or 2160, I forget the exact year, but it's a long time from now. But the idea is that so long as you have a block reward, you have a subsidy to support security and hash rate on the network. And if that subsidy is no longer there, then all the miners get paid with our transaction fees. So two different approaches here. It's good to see both in action, especially Monero reaching its floor sooner than BTC. And ETH, up here, it's still at 4.2 something percent. And in general, not a lot to talk about for Monero under the hood because you can't really monitor active addresses. You can't monitor mean transaction sizes. I can look at transaction counts. I can look at fees. I can compare that to all the other privacy related coins. Transaction counts skyrocketing here at all-time highs. Some of this is mining related. Some of this is cryptojacking related. Again, has to be botnet type activity where you see these spikes and drops in transaction counts super quickly. This isn't, there's a very clear difference between smooth, semi-random transaction counts and then these massive spikes by several thousand, right? 10,000 transactions at once. Maybe it has to do with mixing or something else that I'm not abreast of or aware, but that's not exactly normal for organic activity, let's say. Fees are way down since bulletproofs were introduced in 2018, really. October 2018 is when it was. Bulletproofs Plus are also a part of the chain now, or coming to the chain very soon. And if we zoom into fees, average fees are under 10 cents per transaction, which arguably for what you get, a completely private transaction, is a pretty good deal. If we compare the fees to the other privacy related coins, total fees per day, Monero has the most total fees per day, which may sound bearish, but really it's to me it's bullish because it says that people are actually using the chain. I mean, just look at ETH, right? ETH is ETH's at 31 million in fees. So there's like this give and take between are people using the chain or is it just scaling poorly, right? That's kind of ETH's problem in both cases. Fees are super high because it can't scale and people are using the chain. BTC is somewhere lower than that, yeah, around 10 million. And then Monero is like, 2,000 in fees a day plus block reward. So there's a very clear difference between all of these chains when it comes to who's doing what and why, but it's just important. In general, fees are good, as far as use cases are concerned. It means people are at the party. If you look at some GitHub activity for Monero, to me, I just want to see something, Litecoin being the probably worst example of this, where it's just nothing on the GitHub, but they have activity once in a while. Monero sort of has continuous activity. Fluffy Pony, I think, has stepped back as lead maintainer at this point in time, but there are certainly other people here in the wings who have taken up the mantle and have continued to develop on Monero with incremental improvements and changes. And that's certainly what you want to see on a project that is as old as Monero is. This isn't just like languishing development-wise. There are definitely still active developers working on this stuff. If we look at Google Trends are currently essentially at a multi-year high, not quite the 2018 mania. One issue with Monero, the other thing is it's not really traded many places. It's kind of got delisted by force for regulatory reasons. So you may never see massive spikes in Google Trends for Monero ever again, just because many people just aren't aware it's even a thing unless they're kind of seeking it out. It's not really listed on very many US exchanges. Kraken, one of the only US exchanges, I believe, to list it. Asian exchanges have had to delist it for regulatory reasons. One thing that I haven't seen too many people talk about would be wrapped Monero, as far as allowing increased speculation on Monero, not necessarily preserving the privacy capabilities of Monero, but that'd be a way to introduce it on DEXs and get it at least traded in more places. So it's not really a surprise that even though Monero is near all-time highs, very close price-wise, Google Trends is just muted, right? There's no massive activity here going on. If we look at technicals for Monero, 5200 EMA, VPVR, Pitchfork, yearly pivots, RSI, and Bitfinex long short data. One thing that was super encouraging is looking at this Bitfinex long short data. Shorts continue to grow, have continued to grow the entire way up. Now, they're not at risk for being margin called, but what you don't want to see is longs increasing as price is increasing, because that typically means that a long squeeze is coming. This doesn't necessarily mean a short squeeze is coming, but it does look to me more bullish to see shorts increasing, because if they get nervous and close for any reason, price is just going to keep going higher. It'll be interesting to see what these shorts do once price does break all-time highs. My guess is this is potentially people hedging, but I'm not really sure. I don't think many people would look at this chart and think, yeah, this is a great short, right? This is a multi-month bull trend at this point, along with most everything else in crypto. It's been one of the cleanest bull trends in crypto that really nobody's talking about that I've seen on social media. It does have a parabolic quality to it that's maybe a bit concerning. For stronger bullish continuation, you don't want to see this just curve up continuously, right? Because eventually it's just going to crash down. But trend looks very strong. It's above the pitchfork even. So it's gone into new rate of change speed. 200-day moving average is at basically $200. The R5 yearly pivots at like 550, basically a new all-time high. Subtle bearish divergence here, higher high in price, lower high in RSI. But I think overall this looks great, especially with this long short picture. Minimal volume support above 150, but there's definitely supports there. This isn't like this has gone straight up. It's just slowly grinding higher and higher and higher over the past several months. So it looks great, honestly. On the cloud, on the daily cloud, it's textbook bullish Kumo breakout, TK cross recross, TK cross recross, cloud test, and it's just doing what it should be doing, in that it's being honest with you and saying, here's the place to be long. Oh, go long again. Oh, go long again. Hold your long. There's just nothing to do, right? Currently, the Kijun support is at 295. So that would be a dip buying opportunity based on the daily cloud. but overall that looks great. XMRBTC has pulled up significantly. It completed the W double bottom here. It magically found support on the previous local tops and yearly pivot. So it dipped way down, got bought up, managed to find itself again. And along with most other alts right now, absolutely crushing BTC in price action in the near term. You're even getting a potential 5200 cross here soon on the daily. It's above the previous support turned resistance level. So it looks good to me on virtually all cylinders. It probably will have a fight in this zone because it had a long period of consolidation. But I like 08, I like 01. I don't know about past 01, but it does look good for bullish continuation, certainly. And on the cloud, it's above the cloud for the first time since September 2020. Cloud was bullish for the first time since January. I don't know, it just looks really good on those trend metrics there for sure. Then lastly, just comparing Monero to Zcash. If you want to get a sense of the quote-unquote privacy coin sector, this is one way to do it. Even though these two aren't really equivalent, Zcash is not privacy by default. But in any case, this suggests that both have been relatively strong with one another. And if you want to check out how I'm trading BTC and ETH versus USD or DeFi stuff, you can check out Enzyme.finance, a non-custodial portfolio management tool where you can see all the transparent information such as AUM, trades, allocation, and that sort of fun stuff. So that's all for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.